Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. This is The Amateur, where we're here just to talk life, hobbies, politics, ideologies, what have you. And on today's episode, we're going to be getting into the slap heard around the world. And I know in social media time and in social media hours, I'm like super late to the discussion. But I do think that there are some things it's okay to let the dust kind of settle a little bit before providing any insight or your takes into the initial reactions of it. So hopefully that's something that I'm providing. I haven't really watched very many other reactions to this. So we'll see if I'm providing any new things to add to this really long discussion. And one of those things to ask is like, why are so many people talking about this in the first place? It was a slap from one grown man to another grown man over a woman at an event that no one cares about, with super wealthy and elite people who are far removed from the rest of common society. So like, why is this a discussion anyway? And one, it's just that even though it's Hollyweird, as some people like to call it, or it's the elites, and like I don't think anyone really watches the Oscars as much as they did in the past. And there's these elite people, or they consider themselves elite. Excuse me, that's like a whole other topic. But you have these really wealthy, these rich people holding their ceremonies to give awards to themselves, and the actions. I think it's still a statement of culture, whether we like it or not, whether we want it to be or not. And the things that those people in those positions do it has a ripple effect. And I think it's still something to comment on and critique and note of the things that are kind of allowed or not allowed, just kind of based off the positions that you have. And I mean, I'm doing it based off positions. I've heard other people are doing it based off race, and like there were some insane claims about everything that just kind of happened, about like white people aren't able to have an opinion on this event because they're white, or if you're a male, you don't understand about the effects of hair in black women, and misogynoir. That's a new word that I learned over the weekend based off of that. And so it's just kind of like, it's annoying that it's something that's so popular and common, or something that we need to talk about. But again, it's kind of just something that we need to talk about. And then secondly, like, again, this is Hollywood, that their job is entertainment. And I think the discussion on this is kind of a nice little break to an extent away from the war and gas prices, inflation, COVID, and all these other things, and just kind of like just the depressing state that a lot of things are in, and just kind of just commenting, unfortunately, how another man's life is in shambles, it would seem. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to come in and bring to the table. So just, again, I know we've all seen it, but I'll show it again. Just the clip of the incident in question.
Best friends, like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it, all right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
I'm going to, okay? Okay. That was a greatest night in the history of television.
So first things first, I think the question is whether it was staged or not. I'm more inclined to think that it was not staged, just based off the event that it was. And I think, I've watched some of the reactions. I think Matt Walsh was saying, just based off the event, and there was a whole bunch of virtue signaling, because I don't watch the Oscars. I'm not interested in Oscars. I don't even have a TV. So it's just like they were virtue signaling a lot of things that they care about, like don't say gay and fake wage gap bills or whatever between men and women. So we were virtue signaling all that, but that was everything that happened to the Oscars was overshadowed by this one particular event. I don't think that was intended, as well as just the fact that it doesn't put Will Smith in a good or positive light. I mean, it's definitely assault, and just based off everything, it looks like, Chris Rock was pretty shaken from the event itself, and then it's just the optics of it are just terrible. I think just from face value, it does not look staged at all. But again, like, these are actors, they're paid professionals to perform and pretty much to lie to us, the audience, sometimes even lying to themselves. And that's a harsh way of putting it, but if it works, it works, so that's kind of like the role that they do. So again, I don't think that it was staged. I think it was a pretty real event, and just based off everything else that has been going on in Will Smith's life and the publicity that he and his wife have had, no thanks to Jada, that this was the straw that broke the camel's back for Will, and he just snapped. He snapped. But the first thing that I do want to talk about, notably, is the preface that this was an assault from Will Smith to Chris Rock. It was an undue assault, as far as with the joke in question from the comedian, and literally it's a comedian's job to tell jokes. It was pretty tame for everything that he could have said, and Chris Rock knew it. I think he said, "Oh, I could have." He bit his tongue like the professional that he is. But the joke that he had against Jada Smith was pretty light. Again, it was against alopecia, which is a medical condition of hair loss. And I get the understanding. I think I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here. I think there's some problems where we need to actually recognize that men and women are different. Because when we recognize that as a society, we can recognize the different intentions that these things go through. So I know, especially in biblical culture, I won't say I know, but I'm pretty positive, pretty confident that in biblical culture, that hair is pretty important to a woman, especially the length of her hair, that she has her hair. That's why it's a pretty big deal when a woman decides to cut her hair off, and just kind of that social pressure along those lines. But for men, it's not good either, but there's also almost an expectation. But I think men have more hair loss, or are more prone to hair loss than women are. Like, you'll have the balding man, you'll have that typical that ring of hair that some men have, the comb overs, the toupees. So I think men go through a lot more balding than women do, just scale wise. And I think there's clips that have come out of Will making fun of another bald-headed man. But I think if we don't recognize the different weights that hair has between the different sexes, it's going to seem very, very hypocritical, and it's going to seem like double standard. And that's actually going to be another video. It's going to be another video. But tangent ended. Going back to the assaults that it was on from Will Smith to Chris Rock. And the lack of charges that were pressed. So I know that there has been some talk. I don't think I heard a full clip of Officer Brandon Tatum, and his take. But he was saying, like, Will Smith should have been arrested on site. That was a security issue, yada, 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 all those things. And to an extent, I agree. I think there's, I don't disagree that, it was a physical assault. It was painful. It was very definitely unwarranted. But I think there's also there's some talk that we need to have about pressing charges. And I think the question is should charges be pressed regardless of the desires of those that were aggrieved or aggressed? So that's a lot of words there, but essentially, if someone is the victim of an assault or of a crime, but they don't want to press charges, and like they're able to say, like, I think the default is that that charges are pressed unless someone says not. I'm just saying this philosophically thinking and kind of theoretically thinking. But if someone doesn't want charges to press, should charges be pressed anyway? And so my thought process with this is like, I think the legal system in and of itself is meant to be a secondary option if a first option isn't able to be agreed upon amicably or mutually. I guess it really honestly depends on the offense. But it's something where, like, if say someone that I knew, or like an acquaintance or something, someone stole something from me and I knew that they stole it, and it's just like, I could press charges, I can bring a third party in to hold this person accountable, or I can have this conversation, giving my stuff back, or now you owe this to me for XYZ amount, or whatever. Like, I would call it like under the table business deals, maybe. That sounds shady, and it probably is to some extent, to depending on what it is. And that's why I say, like, the default is that charges are pressed unless the aggrieved says they don't want charges pressed. And I say that for, like, cases like murder, where someone is dead and they can't speak for themselves, and so that's why a case is filed, because they can't speak for themselves, and so the assumption is that you would want to hold that person accountable for the agreements that they gave. But if you're not as mad about it as someone else is, and you are the personal agreed person, say Chris Rock, for being assaulted publicly, but doesn't want to press any charges for it, like, should Will Smith be arrested anyway and held accountable for his actions? So I think that is a conversation that I want to be had, because I think again, it just goes on the lines of the legal system being a third-party mediator. And that's kind of like my point when it comes to marriages and, unfortunately, divorces, as far as with these things don't necessarily always have to have the government or the court system or legal involved. Again, I understand that it probably depends on the level of grievance and what actually was being done. So I think some brief research, like, I think in the military, like, if a person is raped or, like, sexually assaulted, they don't have to press charges against the attacker. Like, they don't have to do that, and that they're able to get the care that they need, but they're not holding that person accountable. Like, they don't have to hold that person accountable, and no one's going to pursue that if that's not what is wanted by the victim or by the aggressed. And so again, like, going back to the marriages and divorces, like, if you're able to amicably and mutually decide upon separate living, or how you're wanting to share, like, I don't condone divorce. I denounce divorce. I don't know if I said the condone part right, but I denounce divorce. If you're wanting to live separately, quote unquote, and you're able to amicably share the time between kids and making sure everyone's taken care of and afforded, like, you don't need to have child support. You don't have to go to a court to mandate child support. You don't have to go to a court to mandate that you have custody or whatever, because you've decided, you're able to talk amongst adults and come to that agreement. So along those lines, I think that's a discussion. I might make a poll post on that and see how that goes. I think another example that I had was, like, if you hit a car, if you damage a car in some way, shape, or form, like, you don't have to get your insurances involved. If you talk and it's like, hey, I will give you $1,000 right now to get, like, the $1,000 might be more than what the damage is worth, but, like, here's $1,000. I'm sorry, that was my fault. I accept responsibility, but please don't get legal involved. Don't get my insurance involved or whatever. Even though it was, like, the point of insurance. If you don't have insurance, then you can just say, hey, I'll give you this money and you can get your car fixed and we'll call it even. And, like, that's a conversation that you two people have. Excuse me. So that's that part. Secondly, we're going on to just discuss the marriage, or lack thereof, between Jada and Will. And I think the most telling thing is the fact that Jada has kept her maiden name and she's hyphenated that to Will Smith's. And so that's already telling that she's not submitting to the traditional roles of, or expectations of, what it means to be a wife. And I say traditional, I mean, like, godly. And so she's hyphenated her name, so she still wants to kind of keep herself separated from under Will's family, of under not having him as the full, complete head of her own household. And that's already a sign there, as well as I think I don't think she's still completely over Tupac, who was her first and only true love, and Will got the scraps of that, and I think the main thing that I see here too is just his total emotional emasculation. It sounds a little harsh, but just the fact that, I don't know, emotional outbursts are very feminine. They're very feminine in general. It's just, that's a feminine thing. That's things that's associated with women, and lack of control over emotions, and being unable to do that, and just kind of snapping at a dirty eye or a rolled eye or a side eye, or like, you better go do something about this, or the look or whatever it was that she gave Will, and that he just was like lost control. Not very masculine of him. And then just lastly, the main thing of their whole situation and their whole relationship is that you have to be very, very careful of who you choose. Men, I'm talking to men because this is a man's job. You have to be careful of who you choose to be your wife. You have to be careful of who you choose to be your wife. You have to be careful of who you choose that you want to be your wife, okay? And this really brings me to a Bible verse. Let me find it. Okay, so it's Proverbs 12:4. An excellent wife is the crown of her husband, but she who shames him is as rottenness in his bones. And Will's bones are rotting right now, okay? Like, she's not wifey material. That's not trying to be degrading towards Jada, but it's just a matter of looking at the full picture for what it is, and she's not being the crown of her husband. That's for sure. That is for sure. So next thing that we're gonna do, I think this video might be a little longer than I want it to be, is just to go over Will Smith's reaction, or his acceptance speech of his Oscar that he won after assaulting another man. So we'll listen to that.
I know to do what we do.
All right, pause. I shouldn't laugh. I just wanted to note that I just find it humorous that Chris Rock is the one who's crying after he was the one who ran up on stage and slapped a man. Like, why are you crying? I mean, I know why he's crying, because he's emotionally damaged. He like, I say that with full empathy, and I'm praying for his healing and for his heart to be whole again, but this ain't it. Okay.
You got to be able to take abuse. You got to be able to have people talk crazy about you. In this business, you got to be able to have people disrespecting you. And you got to smile and you got to pretend like that's
yes,
okay.
I think that's for everybody. And we live in a society, we live in a place where everyone is not going to agree with everything that we do, everything that we say. Again, this is the whole deal with, some people are going to find your jokes funny and others will not. They will find it disrespectful and offensive. And to them, it might like legit be disrespectful and offensive. And it's not necessarily your fault that you don't know that. But it's just also understanding that, yeah, get along the boat with everyone else.
I want to apologize to the Academy. I want to apologize to all my fellow nominees. This is a beautiful moment, and I'm not crying for winning an award.
And not an apology for Chris. You may see on that. I know he later apologized in like an Instagram thing. I hope that Will Smith would have at least called Chris Rock. I don't know if celebrities have their numbers like that. I don't know. But I mean, hopefully more than just an Instagram post to take Chris Rock in private, so that it's not just a show for the world, but like a heart-to-heart, like an actual, like, I repentance, I feel guilt, and I'm like, actually sorry for the way that he comported himself. I hope he did that.
Winning an award for me, it's about being able to shine light on all of the people, Tim and Trevor and Zach and Sanaya and Demi and Ingenue and the entire cast and crew of King Richard and Venus and Serena, the entire...
I think our understandings of shining light are a little bit different. Just a little.
Williams family. Art imitates life. I look like the crazy father, just like they said. I look like crazy father, just like they said about Richard Williams. But love will make you do crazy things.
Yeah, this isn't a movie, though. This is real life. And I didn't see the movie. I haven't seen a lot of movies. But it's just not quite the same. I think, again, like, just understanding the full nature and the depth of everything that, like, I know that Will Smith, he had a very much different definition and understanding of marriage than Jada did, for sure. And I didn't watch their full Red Table clip or whatever it was. I've just seen the clips from it, but I know that he definitely, like, Jada is unapologetic. She's not sorry for her actions. She doesn't regret stepping out on him, and she doesn't. She's just not a fan, to sum that up there. But him stepping out in a knee-jerk reaction to a glance from his wife to physically assault somebody for a tame joke. A joke, by the way, which was accurate. It wasn't like it wasn't even disrespectful. It was just an observation, an accurate observation. Like, yo, Jada, your hair is cut as short as it was for, who was it, Demi Moore in G.I. Jane. Like, you look, the hairstyle is very much the same. And that, like, it was. It was. It was. Like, she has alopecia, which she says she was proud of or not ashamed of or didn't care about, which clearly she does, but... And it's like, okay, like, if you're offended, you're offended, but quit lying to yourself so you can quit lying to others, you know? I digress. And there is the ringer. Love will make you do crazy things. No, it won't. I mean, it depends on how you're defining crazy. But love is not going to make you go up on a stage and slap someone. That's not really love. I mean, it depends on what it is. I mean, you're going to slap some sense into somebody with the Bible. Not the same, though. Not the same. And so that, I think I had another thread on this, another post about, knowing what love is. Love is patience. Love is kind. Love is slow to anger. I think that's what love is. I'm pretty sure that is. Slow to anger. Love is self-control. I don't know if love is self-control. Fruits of the spirit is self-control. I might be mixing those two up. I think it's like the same thing. Either way, though, you got to know what love is before you start saying claims like that, because it's sending the wrong message. And this is why a lot of people are confused at what they think is love versus what love actually is, versus lust versus jealousy versus anger versus all these things. And you have to have that right understanding of those things in order to rightly place your emotions. So I'm not inclined to believe that love was the driving factor that moved Will to the stage.
Being able to love and care for my mother and my family, my wife. I'm taking up too much time. Thank you for this honor. Thank you for this moment. And thank you on behalf of Richard and Oracene, the entire Williams family. Thank you. Hope the Academy invites me back. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know if I got this clip from the Telegraph, so I don't know if that was the full speech, but yeah. I think there was a part in there about protecting women, and that was also like a whole debate. Like, I'm not disagreeing. I think there is a certain level of protection that a husband ought to have for his wife. But it's a matter of what does that actually look like, and when is it warranted and when is it not warranted. I think for this, a joke like this, not warranted. You know, I think for me personally, that was something like, if that was actually offensive, you weren't a fan of it, you could have taken him behind the stage, behind the scene, and had a conversation. I don't think that was necessarily something that warranted physicalness. I'm not saying that no physicality is never acceptable, because there are going to be cases where it's a necessity, as far as, especially when it comes to self-defense, and like a man is getting all in your wife's space and she's super uncomfortable and you need to like physically pull him away, you know, like things like that. I'm just saying there's obviously some discernment and some necessary discrimination that's needed in those things. So again, I'm not going to say that physicalness is like never the answer, but especially in this particular situation and for the event that it is, for the joke that was said, and for the relationship that they had, not warranted. And I know there are some crazy again, I don't have Twitter, but I know I've seen some of the threads about, you know, he was protecting her. This is what it looks like to protect black women, and blah, 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 protecting black women. No, not like this is all I will say. And so yeah, I really do want to give some commendation to Chris Rock for just kind of holding it well, being a professional, taking that slap. Like he took that hit to the head. He took it all the way to the dome. It did not look very pleasant, but he did do that. He held his tongue when he could have gone off. He could have done a lot of things, but he didn't. And I think that's pretty cool of him. I think as well, following this event, that you know, his ticket sales for his tour has gone up, so hopefully he's gaining some success. But this is again also very embarrassing for him that he had to kind of accept that. It just sucks. The whole situation is kind of trash. And then lastly, as far as my take on this, which would be others' take, I don't think it's fair necessarily. I know we have some talk here and there about like the silent majority, and if you don't say something, it's, you know, silence is violence and stupid things like that, which I'm not necessarily in support of. So I'm not saying that you have to, like, the celebrities have to speak up and say something in negation of his actions, but I do commend those who do. And so just to kind of close this off, I'll leave with some words that were stated from both Jim Carrey and Steve Harvey and their take on this situation that I thought were pretty useful to know.
Here's the thing of it. I understand that defending the honor of your wife. I'm that dude. But you don't have to do something. He didn't dishonor her. For that. He didn't do that. That joke was not worthy of the reaction. If he was going to have a reaction, I think that Will should have done the man thing, was step to him afterwards in that press room, and if he wanted to slap Chris then, he could have slapped Chris in the press room and seen how it went. But see, Will laughed. But see, he laughed at the joke till he saw Jada's reaction. Yeah. Now, let me tell you something. That's a Hollywood move now. To go up there on national TV, slap another black man, turn around your back and walk off, because you know he can't do nothing. See, and I know this. I know he know this, because Will been in Hollywood long enough. So now to turn your back and walk off, you're going to slap the dude and then turn around and walk off, you know in real life that ain't the way this going to go.
Standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
They asked Chris, do you want to file charges? And Chris apparently said no, he did not.
He doesn't want the hassle. I'd announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million, because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. You do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.
So again, very, very, I think, reasonable words stated from both Jim Carrey and Steve Harvey. I personally, not only personally appreciate, I think it's a good thing that they've spoken up against something that has been widely accepted in liberal, I don't want to say liberal, but at least leftist, like, woke talking circles about this being about, black oppression and misogynoir and all these other stupid things. It's not, but whatever. So, but the summary that I will take here, though, again, is select your wife very, very carefully. And if that means that you don't have a wife for a long time till the right wife comes along, that might be it. But that's just me. I'm just an amateur, so what the heck do I know? But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.
Now this is a story all about how I slapped Chris Rock and sat back down. And some people say I'm wrong, but I don't care. I'll tell you why you don't make jokes about wifey not having hair. When Pookie came walking out on the stage, we had no idea we were about to get played. He said a little joke and everything was all cool, but she didn't laugh and now I gotta act the fool. Took a couple of strides up the right where he stood. Looked him in the face and I slapped him good. I gave him one little slap and the world got scared, but that's what happens when you talk about wifey not having hair. I won Actor of the Year, but nobody really cares, and Diddy was up there. We're gonna kumbaya later. I'll see you tonight so we can clear the air, but I'll slap him again if he talks about my wife's hair.